What's up everyone, Ninth Jim here, back with another VGC 2020 Pokemon Sword and Shield competitive video, and today we're talking about Araquanid. Now this Pokemon is particularly better in this gen because of weakness policy Dynamax, which we see being very powerful on a lot of Pokemon, things like Rhyperior, mostly Rhyperior, and then just about every Pokemon in the game that is a little bulky and a little damaging can be very strong with weakness policy Dynamax. So Araquanid is one of those Pokemon. It also loves Trick Room with a really low speed stat, as well as its ability just being very good, giving it an additional 100% damage, adding stab, and then also prevents burn, which is very interesting. So essentially, it does a lot of damage with Liquidation. It's pretty slow, but that makes it pretty fast under Trick Room, and it's not a bad typing actually. We get a lot of good resistances here, and then 3 big weaknesses that are going to happen a lot of the time, so weakness policy will proc. Unfortunately, there's no way to really proc your own weakness policy very easily, but it'll happen. It'll activate, definitely. Anyway, so without further ado, let's talk about it. So water bug typing is pretty interesting. Gives us 5 resistances of water, ice, fighting, ground, and steel, which is really good. And then we also have 3 weaknesses of electric, flying, and rock. All of those Pokemon that use those typings are going to be pretty strong, so you're going to take some damage, but our defenses are pretty okay. Our HP could be better, but our special defense is really solid and defense is pretty solid. So speaking of stats, let's talk about them. So HP 68, a little under average, but with investment plus Dynamax, it gets pretty solid HP. Defense at 92 and special defense at 132. The special defense is amazing. Too bad we have rock as a weakness because they're going to be usually physical. But like I said, 92 isn't bad, and once we Dynamax, we're not going to be taking too much damage from something like a Rock Slide or even a max Rock Fall from something like Tyranitar or Excadrill. So that's pretty good. As far as our offense goes, we had 70 attack, which is not like amazing. 50 special attack, which means you could go either way, but I definitely would recommend going attack. Also, we are preventing burn, so that's really solid. So yeah, our attack isn't insane. That's why we kind of need the weakness policy. Our water attack is really good, but if we want to use anything other than Liquidation, we kind of need weakness policy to really get an attack that's really good damage. So yeah, you really want to just use Liquidation or weakness policy attacks, which makes sense. And then we have 42 speed, which makes it very slow, but it is faster than a lot of common Trick Room Pokemon. So against Trick Room teams, if you use this Pokemon, you're going to want to deny Trick Room with maybe something like Imprison from Jellicent, or even just resetting Trick Room when you think they're going to activate it. But you don't want to call it wrong and then have them not activate it, and then you activate it yourself and you lose a turn with your Dusclops while they gain a turn with Dusclops, and it's just a bad position. Anyway, that's going to be it for our overview. Let's talk about this build. So, ability Water Bubble, it's definitely its best ability. It also has Water Absorb, which is good as well, but Water Bubble is much better, and it just makes our Liquidation insanely strong. And then, like I said, item weakness policy, it works very well with this Pokemon, since we have a lot of special defense, and we're pretty bulky in general, and we expect a Dynamax. Weakness policy makes a lot of sense on this Pokemon. A couple of other items you could use here: Life Orb, just for consistent damage, 1.3 times damage, you know what you're doing. It's good, it puts us in range of a couple of good Okos or a couple of good 2-shots, but I'm greedy. I want to play that weakness policy really bad. And then we also have Assault Vest here, just giving us that insane special defense. I don't think you're going to want to use this. You're probably going to want to use weakness policy or Life Orb since its damage is a little mediocre. So definitely go with one of those, probably. I mean, you could go Assault Vest if you wanted to. Anyway, so then we have our moves. We have Liquidation, Leech Life, Crunch, and Protect. I went with Liquidation and Leech Life for our best physical stab moves, Water and Bug. Liquidation is going to be our main tool with this Pokemon. Leech Life is there for support. It's pretty good. And then we also have Crunch here just for some coverage. There's a couple of other attacks you could use, Poison Jab, and then I also saw Giga Drain, but we're not special, so I don't really I wouldn't go with that. Anyway, those I feel like are really strong for our actual moveset. And then Protect, of course, because I think having Max Quake and Protect are really useful. A lot of the times you can Protect turn 1, and then if you expect your opponent to use a Max move into that slot, then you take very little damage and it activates your weakness policy, and then you can set up Trick Room with your Dusclops. But you'll have to be careful, because if they double into your Dusclops then it kind of ruins your day. Anyway, that's it for our moves. Let's go ahead and talk about some flex moves. So Poison Jab, like I talked about, is good coverage. And then we have Stockpile and Substitute if you want to be a little bit bulkier. But I don't suggest using this Pokemon if you want a bulky water Pokemon with Stockpile. I'd probably go Gastrodon. Anyway, that's going to be it for our moves. Let's talk about our stats. So as far as our EV spread goes, we have 252 into HP and 252 into attack. It's very basic, but it's pretty effective, hitting very good damage. We're also Brave Nature, giving us plus attack and minus speed, and then 0 IVs into speed as well, just so we can be as slow as possible, hitting 42 speed tier, which is very slow and is much slower than every Pokemon that you're going to run into other than Trick Room Pokemon. However, Trick Room is very, very commonly played now. With Dusclops being one of the most played Pokemon, we have also like Rhyperior, Conkeldurr, Gastrodon, all of these really high tier Pokemon, high usage Pokemon that like a little bit of Trick Room on their team. Anyway, that's going to be it for that. Let's go ahead and talk about synergetic Pokemon. So I just have Dusclops here put down. You can use some other stuff like Conkeldurr, Gastrodon, Ferrothorn. Probably not Gastrodon. You'd be running a really big water team. But yeah, you use other Trick Room Pokemon that really like Trick Room. Maybe Jellicent, like I said, to Trick Room Imprison against Trick Room teams, so that you can outspeed their Trick Room Pokemon without having to activate Trick Room, which is really good. So yeah, that's about it for this slide. Let's go ahead and move on to some speed tiers. So as far as speed tiers go, we hit 42, which is pretty solid. We're right above Rhyperior and right above Gastrodon, most common builds. Some Gastrodons will be ran with speed, so you'll outspeed Gastrodon most of the time, but not all the time. Sometimes they will be outspeeding you. A couple of Pokemon we outspeed other than those is Hatterene, Dusclops, Torkoal, Ferrothorn. All of the Pokemon that are down there, Reuniclus, Snorlax if it's ran min speed, a couple of Iron Ball Pokemon, and a couple of Room Service Pokemon, but you don't see that very frequently. So we hit a pretty solid speed tier as far as our Trick Room Pokemon go. We outspeed all of those Pokemon before they activate Trick Room, but once Trick Room is activated and is flip-flopped, well, we're getting outsped by a lot of things, which is unfortunate. A couple of things that we outspeed after Trick Room is set, Conkeldurr and Supersized Gourgeist, a couple of good Pokemon that we just outspeed once Trick Room is set. But if we're up against those Pokemon, then yes, like that's awesome, Trick Room is set. But if we aren't up against those and we're up against Trick Room team, like I said, just want to deny the Trick Room so that we can outspeed the Rhyperior, Gastrodon, Hatterene, Pokemon like that. Anyway, that's going to be it for our speed tiers. Let's go ahead and talk about some damage calcs. So, Dynamaxed Air Bubble, or Water Bubble from our Max Invested Water Bubble boy, Max Geyser, into an Excadrill, a Dynamax Excadrill, hitting 132 to 155%, a guaranteed OHKO, which is really good. Hit right through that weakness policy, although if it has a little bit of defense, it might actually be able to tank it. But we're hitting 132 to 155, so it gives us a little bit of wiggle room if it's a defensive weakness policy Excadrill. Next, we have our Dynamaxed Water Bubble, Max Geyser, into a Solid Rock, Max HP, Dynamaxed Rhyperior. We hit 89 to 105, which is a 31% chance to OHKO. However, you might not want to do that just because of the fact that it might live it. You know, it has a 70% chance of living, and then its weakness policy procced, and then its max rockfall does so much damage. But if you are activated weakness policy, then we get a guaranteed OHKO, of course, you know, hitting 89 to 105. But yeah, we provide a really, really big OHKO, which is really good. Next, we have our our Max Invested +2 from weakness policy into a Dynamax Tyranitar. This is one that we need the weakness policy to be able to do, just because it's pretty bulky. Tyranitar is pretty bulky, and Dynamax it gets very, very big. So yeah, +2 from our weakness policy does give us 145 to 171% guaranteed OHKO, which is really good. However, you know, like I was saying, you need weakness policy to activate. But Tyranitar is faster, so if it goes for a max Rockfall or a Rock Slide, then you're able to just take it out. Next, we have Dynamaxed, actually, like I was saying, the Dynamaxed Max Rockfall from the Tyranitar into our Araquanid. Hits 69 to 82%, which is a lot of damage, mind you, but then it activates our weakness policy, and then we return OHKO it, which is really good. Next, we have Dynamax Nasty Plot Max Lightning from a pretty invested Rotom Wash. This is just the most common spread for Rotom Wash right now. Hitting 74 to 81 to 88%. So that means we guaranteed live a Nasty Plotted Dynamax Max Lightning from a Rotom Wash, which is really good. Next, we have our Water Bubble Max Geyser with Weakness Policy added into a defensive Togekiss. This is just one of the most played Pokemon right now, so I wanted to add that in there. Realistically, I probably should have added like Incineroar as the last damage calc, but still, we do provide an Oko against the defensive spread, which is really, really good. Which it's just good in general. So yeah, Water Bubble Max Geyser does a lot of damage, so keep that in mind. Especially with Weakness Policy. It does so much damage. Anyway, that's going to be it for our damage calcs. Let's go on to our single spotlight. So, unfortunately, this Pokemon did lose Toxic, which was half of its appeal for singles. The fact that it could set up Sticky Web, it could set up Toxic Sub, all of those things, but it was mostly due to Toxic being able to wear down Pokemon that otherwise it can't really threaten. So, without Toxic, I'm trying to make the best out of this bad situation. We're running heavy duty boots just so that we can get in there. Stuffed Rocks does a lot of damage. So yeah, just not taking damage to that is good. And then we have Sticky Web, which is just a good hazard in general, lowering their speed every time they bring it out. And then we have Liquidation, Leech Life, and Crunch, just for some stab and some coverage. I really wish one could be Toxic, but it can't be. So yeah, this is what we have. And then we also have 252 into HP and 252 into attack. Adamant Nature just being as damaging as possible without being as slow as possible. Yeah, that's about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like Araquanid, like and subscribe. If you like 9th Gym, like and subscribe. All of it means so much to me. Thank you so much for watching. Overall, I think Araquanid is a pretty cool Pokemon. It has some good synergies with Dynamax, mostly Weakness Policy. It also has some good Dynamax moves. It does a lot of damage, and after you set Rain with Max Rainfall, then you start to do a lot of damage with Water Bubble, Max Hydro Pump, Max Geyser. So that's really good. And then in singles, this Pokemon has lost too many tools. I don't think it'll be really usable in singles, but it's still a cool Pokemon and pretty solid Trick Room Sweeper. Anyway, that's going to be it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Follow me on Twitter. Join my Discord. If you want to be part of some of the things I have coming up, mostly like the rental team thing, you'll have to join my Discord. More info on that in the future. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening or day. It's only 9:30 a.m. for me, so yeah, have a good day. Anyway, goodbye. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.